be successful in, for the first time in the history of advertising, really portraying African Americans in a positive, realistic way as we went about the business of selling them goods and services. In the whole process of carrying out the function of commerce, selling people stuff, and because we were focusing on the African American, I got a chance to really think about and study our history and what makes us work and what makes us tick. It started with, why do we buy the way that we buy? That's how the whole thing got started. And for instance, we learned that, somebody asked the question, why do we spend all our money on stuff? Why do we buy stuff? And why don't we save money? Started to look into that and started to be able to connect the dots between that behavior and our history in this country, the way that we were brought to this country. Totally stripped of everything, of our history, our religion, our customs, our families, our names, our language, stripped and brought to a place where the primary driver was materialism. So stripped of everything, stripped of all status, human status, it is altogether reasonable to see that in order to try to compensate for that, we started to try to buy our status. And in a materialistic society, what do we do to buy our status? We buy things to buy our way into somebodiness. That is what we basically are doing. Because we aren't buying things that we hide in storage lockers and put in safety deposit boxes. We are buying things that people can see, so we can say, see, I am somebody. Look at me. Can't you see? Can't you, you see the sparkle? See the label? See the car that I can drive around and park in front of the joint or park in front of the church that says, I am somebody. So that explains that. So we started to look at all other aspects. Why are we so concerned? Why do we index so high in any product that has to do with cleanliness? We're trying to buy our way into the status of being somebody because we were told that we were dirty and filthy. So that's why we scrub and wash to try to wash away the stigma. So that led to all kinds of other thought. But at the point of 2004, when I got out of the business, sold the business, I had the choice, I guess, Madeline, my wife here, we could have just decided, I guess, to go to the beach and cool out. But these questions were bugging me. Why, after all these centuries, we're strong. We survived the Middle Passage. We survived the dungeons. And all kinds of humiliation, vilification, deprivation. To be here, we're smart. We looked at the whole curve of literacy after the emancipation. I mean, we risked our lives during slavery to learn how to read. It was against the law. So why, after all these efforts, are we still at the bottom of just about every good list and at the top of just about every bad list? I had to answer those questions, and that search led to the publication of Brainwashed, Challenging the Myth of Black Inferiority. I want to stop also just to say here that this book is just full of all kinds of good material, and there's no way that I could have done it alone. And fortunately, we have two people here who are a big part of making this whole thing happen. My wife, Madeline, and Willow Wells, who is a neighbor of yours, who I guess lives down the street, who have been, both of them have been very, very integral, along with many others, in making this whole thing happen. So let's have. So here is what we basically found out. That we have been conditioned to buy into the myth of black inferiority. It was a bill of goods sold to us, not just out of mean-spiritedness, but out of an economic imperative. When this country was founded, it was a new idea called democracy. Democracy meaning all men are created equal, freedom, justice, liberty, all that kind of good stuff. The only thing is that the founding fathers and their cohorts figured that in order to have a democracy, they had gotten accustomed to this idea of slavery. So how do you do both of those things? Well, what you have to do, somebody came up with a great idea. It's a great marketing idea, one that a marketing person would envy. Let's come up with the idea that these people who don't look like us are not human. Wow. That guy, if he were working, he would have gotten a raise and a promotion. They're not human. What do you mean by that? Well, they have these little tiny little brains and they can't think, and they want to be enslaved. They're docile. They have no morality. They're dirty. They're more like animals than they are like human beings. So let's just make that our claim. And from that came the claim, and then from that came the need to substantiate it. And that process started back then at the founding of this country, and it has continued non-stop ever since. And the major carrier of that message is the media. The major carrier of it is media, and what they are basically carrying is negative propaganda 24/7 that tell you that you are less than, you are not as good as, and it is so pervasive that we don't even realize that it's going on, and it is so powerful, as brainwashing is, that we, the abused, become a part of the abuser. We buy into it, and we join the team. And that's essentially what has happened. So as we look at media, as we listen to the lyrics, as we watch the television programs, the people who started this stuff, it's just like getting the wheel going. They can go somewhere and sit down, because we have said to them, hey, you don't have to worry, we can keep